Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Friday and it's the 1st of August. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. It is also the first day of a new month. So let's see what's happening and what happened last night, which was the last day of July. So maybe there was some repositioning, and there was a lot of earnings coming out, and still a lot of earnings coming out too. Yesterday, let's have a look at ARM Holdings that got beaten heavy yesterday. We can see here it lost about 13-14%. Forming this possible double top pattern here, just above the support at 138.5. RSI closed below 40 threshold, so we could see it sliding lower in the coming days. There is a risk it will do that, especially if it closes below 138.50. And if this is double top, well, then it's actually closed below the valley here, which is the at 140.70. Now it's closed just above it, but if it close above below this level here, then we could see further downside. And the way we could also measure how low it could go is we can take from the peak to the valley and then lower, and then we could see it lower to 110. But let's see about that. We have some support here around 124. On the Nasdaq index, it actually started out very good with Meta and Microsoft lifting the market especially, but semiconductors had a fairly weak day, especially here with ARM and also Qualcomm. And you can see it actually formed this very bearish engulfing pattern here yesterday. Market opened higher and sellers took control from the get-go and kept it throughout the session. So now we actually have a top and reversal in place, and we could see further drops coming in the today, and possibly also going into next week with a correction. Here we have the CFD. We can see the same pattern there. So maybe we are in for a correction. We can add a Fibonacci to that uptrend we have seen there. So there is a little bit of support here at 22,805, but stronger support in this region around 22,582, 22,370. And if we are looking at S&P 500, also a bearish engulfing there, taking out 1, 2, 3, 4 days of trading. Some of them were negative, although. And we could now see it sliding lower in the coming days and going into next week. 6,200 still key support on Dow Jones. That has also turned sour here. And if it takes out at the lows there at 23,758, well, then it established a bearish trend, and it's already in the cards with the declining RSI values. So really seems a bit heavy on the US markets at the moment, and we seems to be in for a correction. Pre-market, we are down about 0.3%, as we can see here. Also, the US 500 and CFD illustrates that. In Asia, Hang Seng keeps sliding lower, 0.5% down, and I think we could see it lower here, as we mentioned yesterday. Testing the rising trend line and the 61.8 retracement at 24,472. Nikkei, well, it bounced from the 50%, but it's stalling a little bit. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, no divergence indicating likely higher levels, but if it takes out the lows from yesterday, they're at 40,480, well, then we could see lower levels. In Europe, also fairly bad day yesterday for EUROSTOXX50. Actually started out well, but then it slightly lower throughout the session. And moving on to the pre-market, we see it actually now is in a bearish trend. If this continues, has taken out the lows there and is below the 61.8 retracement 5,287. There's now risk down to 5,200, 5,175. I will actually adjust that and saying, okay, there is risk down to this level here, where we also have the 200 moving average coming up. So really, it's a decisive day today, but it looks fairly heavy. We can see also here DAX couldn't get above its falling trend line, support at 23,920, and I think it's already broken here. Yes, pre-market already broken. So we are likely to slide lower, especially if we close it below 23,920. On the FX market, your dollar found some support here around 114. That could be taken out. If it takes out to the downside, then expect further downside to 112 level. The 100 moving average though is sliding up here and adding a little bit of support. We are still in the cloud, so we are a little bit neutral here, but we have a bearish trend: lower low, lower high, and lower low. Can it bounce or can't it bounce? If it does bounce, then I would do this. I just added just in case it does bounce. Then we could bounce up to 115.50, which is 38.2 retracement. Sterling dollar sliding lower and now is trading close to support and the 38.2 projection of this what appears to be a shoulder pattern, broken below the rising trend line there, broken below the neckline here, which is fairly flat. It should actually be adjusted a little bit, but it's that shouldn't we shouldn't keep fighting over this, as you can see. So a little bit tilted there, but anyway, and there is potential lower to 129, some support here, as I said, 131 15, 17 and 131. I think we'll get down to around 131, which is also 61.8 projection of from the top to the bottom of this shoulder pattern, and we could see it lower here in the coming going into next week. Euro sterling, well, it's bouncing. How much will it bounce? That will be a key question here the next few days, and I think we'll get at least up to 61.70, which is 38.2 retracement. Could bounce all the way up to around 87, which is 61.8 retracement. However, if it takes out the lows here and takes out 86, well, then we are looking at lower levels below 85.5, 85.25. On the yen pairs, dollar yen pushed higher yesterday, pausing a little bit this morning here, but pushed much higher above 150. I think 151.25 will be tested, which is the 161.8 projection of this correction here. That gives energy, could actually also break above it, and then we are looking at 152, 152.5. Euro yen, that bounced from support at 169.70, didn't get all the way down to 169, which is the 38.2 retracement, and now has bounced. And then I will, when it does that, then I will also add a Fibonacci to it and say, okay, where will it bounce to? Already bounced 61.8 retracement, 172.32, setting back a little bit. If it takes it out, the peak from today, which is just around 172.40, then 173 is likely, and possibly back in bullish trend, taking out the peak there. But we have a top and reversal in place, so maybe we'll slide back a little bit. If it takes out the lows here from yesterday at 169.70, downtrend is continuing. We have Aussie yen range bound here by between 97.45 and 95.60. Sterling yen, that has bounced after dipping below the rising trend line there, but stayed above and could resume uptrend. Key will be if it takes out the lows from yesterday, then we are in for a bearish trend. But all moving averages pointing to higher levels. I think we will slowly crawling higher in the coming days and weeks. Aussie dollar, excuse me, Aussie dollar below 64.35. It's only the 100 moving average holding on to it, but negative sentiment on the RSI indicating lower levels. We could see it dipping down to 63.65, where we have the the 200 moving as declining here, and we are below the cloud at the moment, so it seems to have turned negative, and I think we could see that in the coming days. However, if it crawls back above 65, I think the 64.85 will be first clue about that. Well, then uptrend could resume. Dollar Canada, oh, let's just adjust that. Dollar Canada also higher, above resistance here at the 138.45. We could also adjust to say, well, just probably around there. That's where we're trading at the moment. And the 100 moving average, there's a little bit of resistance, but I think it could keep bouncing to, or keep crawling higher to 161.8 at 138. 138, well, it's actually 139, adding a little bit. So 139, we could see it, which is 161.8. Projection of this correction here, but we're also breaking out of this triangle-like pattern here, and that could actually give energy all the way out to towards 140. Sterling Canada, well, dipped lower yesterday, trying to bounce here from 182.60 support. If it takes out the low from today, which is at 182.45, well, then the 182 is likely to be taken out and lower. But I think we could see it bouncing a little bit here in the next couple of days. But it is really key towards Swiss franc, Euro Swiss. And now it finally broke, and now it's trying to get back above the 93 level here again. If it takes out the lows from yesterday, then we are looking at 92.20. But the cat is out of the box. We are in a bearish trend with a lower low. You see here, lower low, lower high, lower low. A little bit of bounce. I think we will slide back lower here in the coming today and going into next week. Dollar Swiss bounced off lows here. Broken above the falling trend line, above the resistance at 80s, but no, 80 at 65, and has reached 161.8 projection. Positive sentiment on the other side, likely to move higher. I think we will see it pushing higher here in the coming days towards 82, possibly up to 82.5, and then maybe that's it. Dollar index, more or less the same picture, reached 161.8. Projection of this little correction here. Positive sentiment on the other side. There is a little bit of resistance, but stronger resistance here is at 80 spot 32 and 80 spot 74. So really strong resistance there. But we do have positive sentiment on the other side. We are above the cloud, so we could see it pushing higher. However, if it takes out 99.34, it could slide back to 98.67. Golds, well, above the 100 moving average. RSI bounced from the 40 threshold, so still positive sentiment. So it's really on the knife edge at the moment. Key support at 32.45. If RSI closes below 40 threshold before it gold closes below 32.45, then I will say downtrend has been established, despite the fact that it maybe hasn't dropped below this level. But still, keep an eye on that level. It could bounce from there. Then we have silver, and yes, there's a lot of lines here. So first of all, this uptrend here gave energy to lower levels when it broke support at 37.5. It reached 161.8, projection of that at 36.25, which is also 786 retracement of this uptrend here. So there's some support. We can also see 55 moving average coming up, giving some support, and the RSI is still above 40 thresholds, meaning it is still in a positive sentiment. If it can hold itself above that level and bounces off, well, then we could see it bounce further on silver. But if it takes out the lows from yesterday, which is at 36.20, then we could see silver down to 35.5 level down here. Platinum, little bit harder to read this morning here if the data will come into my chart. There we are. Just above the 55 moving average, so below the minor support here at 12.97. RSI playing with 40 threshold and closed smack bang on it yesterday. At the moment, it is below, as we can see, 39.53. But if it can bounce, then we could see a bounce in platinum. So also on a knife's edge here, so keep an eye on, will it start moving higher, or will it continue lower towards 1200, 1215? And finally, copper, that really has been hammered the past few days, has been pausing a little bit, spike lower here to 433 and a bit, just above minor support here at 431, where there's a little bit of support. Negative sentiment, it could still push lower. There is actually room down to around 400. If it starts crawling back above 450 minimum, then there's resistance at 460, 460. On the energy market, WTI crude oil, well, it couldn't stay above, so actually it did slide back below support there at 69.50, but we're still in a bullish trend, just pausing a little bit, could push higher. So if it takes out the peaks here from the past few days at 70.551, then uptrend is resuming, and RSI still positive sentiment. It closed above 60 threshold here the other day, and it has actually been positive sentiment for quite some time. So it should push higher, but there's no certainties in trading. The Brent crude oil actually formed this bearish engulfing here, but let's see, it found some support at the 100 moving average, still above the 71.53, still positive sentiment on the RSI, and if it takes out the peak here from the past 2 days at 73.63, I expect to move up to 75.65. European nat gas resistance here at 35.37 and the 55 moving average. We also have the 100 coming down there. RSI still negative sentiment, so if it slides back below 34.60, then a downtrend is likely to resume. The US nat gas, it's a little bit slow this morning. I don't know what it is. So let's just adjust this a little bit. Trading sideways, so I actually say if it takes out the that peak up there at 319, so let's say 320 and 297, so let's say 295 to the downside, that is the direction. So if it goes to the downside, then we are looking at 275. If it takes out the 320 there, expect to move up to around 337. Moving on to yields, and the US Treasury yield still holding on above 430, 432. Has tried to test a couple of times, but bounced. So let's see if it takes it out. Well, then we're looking at a 4.25. Can it get back above the cloud? Can it get back above 440? Well, then there's room up to 450. On the European yields, crawling higher this morning here, a EU 10-year. So now it's actually again above 272. If it closes above, well, then we have established a bullish trend, and it will be further confirmed by RSI if it closes back above 60 threshold, already in positive sentiment. So there is a potential higher. So let's see about that. So if it does that, then I would do this. I will actually add this Fibonacci to it, a projection, and say, okay, there's room up to possibly around 283, which is 161.8, a projection of this correction there. The if it doesn't close above, well, then it will still be range bound. There's a minor support there at 267. On the UK 10, also bouncing off the support here at 455, and it's bouncing further today, but still needs to get above 470 for a bullish trend. Finally, on cryptos and Bitcoin are sliding lower here at the past 24 hours, and could test the 112,000 support level, where also the 55 moving average is coming up. Key will be what will happen there. Ethereum correction kicking in, and I will now add a Fibonacci to it and say, okay, we do have some Fibonacci levels. I need to add a this one there. There we are. So support there at 3,500, and then we could drop to the 38.2 retracement at 3,243 if it takes out that support. All right, that's all for today and this week. Have a nice day and a nice weekend when you get to that. Thank you very much. Talk to you Monday.